start hip flexion on your back, passive range, holds, passive range, holds. That's on your back. Now you can go half kneeling with rear foot elevated. Here, targeting that hip flexor. You can go to the opposite hip, holds. Here, switch legs, holds with a reach, getting deeper, work your way back and forward. Okay, then we can get a little bit more advanced, and we would do something like a passive range hold, get into your utmost end range of hip flexion, and then our goal is to hold here, let go for a desired time, say 5 seconds, 4, 3, 2, 1, pull back in, passive range, now we hold 4, 3. So the goal is, obviously you want to avoid, when you're doing this hold, you want to avoid like a compensation, right? You get here and you're holding and you're like, oh, look at all this hip flexion. It's not the goal, okay? So we want legit range of motion from hip flexion. So that's a passive range hold, passive range lift off. Prop yourself up, okay? So say that right there is my passive range for hip flexion. Now I'm going to lift off from that passive range. Contract, lift, 3, 2, 1, down, contract, breathe, relax, lift, 3, 2, 1, down. Again, not compensating with my trunk to create more range of hip flexion. All right, check the ego at the door. It's going to look differently for everybody. Hip internal rotation, external rotation. For me, 90-90. Make sure your 90s are 90. Breathe, breathe. Internal rotation this way, external rotation this way. And then once you get good, internal rotation, knee slams into the ground, rear leg, rear foot elevates, internal rotation. Opposite of that would be rear foot slamming into the ground, lifting at the knee, external rotation, okay? So this right here, internal, external, and you can get fancy. You can prop yourself up with yoga blocks, or you can control actively, right? Our goal is to progress in a way that we're creating workspace, we're creating passive range of motion, and then we're bridging the gap from what we have from a passive standpoint, and then what we can get and use, authentically use from an active. So if you were doing internal rotation, the setup would be 90-90, come over here, 2 minutes of breath, holding, grinding through this internal rotation, 4 points, knee, ankle, doing your best to slam those into the ground, internal rotation, and now we can start our internal rotation. Holds, boom, down, hold, down. Or you can do same thing with the hip flexion, passive range lift-offs, prop yourself up with a yoga block. Say that that was all I had from internal rotation standpoint. Now I'm doing passive range lift-offs from there. And then once you get good, remove all stability and then still shoot for it. You can do pails, rails, progressive, regressive, where P of the pails is up, and then R would be slamming down. Okay, same thing for external rotation. Okay, with stability provided, external rotation, passive range. You can even do this with like a little bit of resistance. Okay, you can even go into a bear sit, resisted internal, All right, and then you know your hip flows. Okay. Hamstrings. Let's see. Increase hamstring passive range of motion. The goal is to be able to go straight leg, get all the way down to the ground. A great exercise for this would be straight leg sit-ups to engage your core, and then toe touch. Okay. And T-spine for me. Right over left, or pretzels. Start here. You can even prop something up under this leg, and then windshields, wipers. Good. Okay, that's T-spine.